And now in the game room, I keep a lot of my retro systems hooked up here. The newer stuff, the 360, PS3, and Wii, are outside in the living room. But in here, I figured it'd be nice to have all the retro systems hooked up together on a nice little TV. So starting from here, we have the PCFX, as I discussed earlier, with the games, Japan only. Very difficult to play in games. It's more of a collector's item. The N64, very a love-hate relationship with the N64. I didn't really like it when it came out, with the exception of Mario and Zelda, of course, but you know, didn't think it had a lot of great games for it. But anyway, let's move along here. I've got the 3DO. Oh, what's in there? Let's find out what's in there. Hold on now. Oh, we got Phoenix 3. Now, here I know I'm cheating a bit here. I'm using an FC Twin to play Super Nintendo and NES games. And believe me, I think when you see this, you'll understand the truth here. It's mostly just for a room to. I actually have several Super Nintendos and several NESs, but just to compress to fit everything, it's just easier to use an FC Twin to play both. Hooked up here. Saturn, American one.
What do you got plugged in there in the back?
This is the Action Replay. It allows me to play almost every Japanese game. There are a few Japanese games that do not work with the American Saturn, and of course, that means you gotta buy a Japanese Saturn to play, like, seriously 3 games that didn't work with that, which is all worth it. And as we discussed before, there's an extra 4 megs of RAM in there to get the 2D fighting games working perfectly. A Neo Geo CD. Huge fan of the Neo Geo, which we'll discuss in future videos. I love the Neo Geo CD. This is actually the CD-Z model with the faster drive, so the loading times are not as crazy. I know there still are loading times, but we have to understand with the Neo Geo CD, the games are very, very cheap for it, so it was just kind of an easy fix to play some Neo Geo. Down here we have my Dreamcast. This is my original one I bought back in 1999.
Hello, Dreamcast.
I got painted a picture.
It's thinking.
It's thinking that it's very loved. Let's put it that way.
Oh yeah.
Down here, I'll discuss in the future video as well. Huge fan of the TurboGrafx. I actually upgraded and bought the Turbo Dual when it came out, and bought the Japanese version as well. Just to have, even though, like, to play some of the chip games. Just you had to own a Japanese one. Now the GameCube's hooked out here, but I don't use it to play GameCube games because I have a Wii out there for that. I use it to play Game Boy Advance games with the player. Of course, Castlevania plugged in there right now. Then we have the Neo Geo AES. This is purely for collectors. Like, it's one of those things when you're younger and the Neo Geo came out, as everyone may remember. It was $1,000 basically when it came out, at least in Canada it was, and as much as I spent every penny I made on video games, I could never afford one when this originally came out. So now it's just kind of retribution now, owning one now that I can afford it. This is, of course, is a Sega CD, which again, people saw all the full motion video games and were distracted and didn't think it was any good. But man, did they miss out on some fantastic games, which we will get to because the next cabinet we're going to show off is the Sega CD stuff. This is actually the Model 2 Sega CD. I have my original drawer Sega CD, but unfortunately it died and the motor doesn't work anymore. But of course I still kept it because I bought that the day it came out, of course, and then when they re-released this model, just bought the Sega CD too. This is actually the CDX, which combined the Sega CD and the Genesis into one very expensive system. The funny story is, the system did not do so well because Sega, for some odd reason, decided to, when they combined the two, the Genesis and Sega CD, let's make it cost, I believe, $50 to $80 more than if you bought the two systems separately. But just a really cool unit to have.
Do a quick pass so you can see the systems a little better. So here, of course, is a Japanese Saturn, which is one of my sacrifices. And just really cool seeing a good cross-section of gaming over the past, 20 years or so. And man, it's amazing what we played back then and how things have come.
So going down, we have Sega CD, which, as I discussed maybe earlier in the video, is just a system that was completely ignored by the video game public and shouldn't have been, because they saw full motion video games and didn't want anything to do with it. But those guys missed out on one of the best games ever made, Snatcher, which we'll get, there's already several videos on YouTube about how great this game is, and we're going to do one ourselves. It's just that good. The Lunar titles are anything by Working Designs, as I've discussed several times already, and I'll never get tired of discussing anything that Working Designs does. And also a special little treat here, Space Adventure Cobra, which, if I'm right, I believe this was the last North American published game ever for the Sega CD. I believe it came out actually right when the PlayStation and the Saturn were already a bit into their lifespan already, so definitely got ignored. Great game if you like Snatcher or other graphic adventures, definitely check it out, though I believe if you want to buy it, might set you back quite a few bucks right now. And Sega CD, I'm sounding like a broken record here, another system I bought when it came out, and they used to come in these really terrible cardboard boxes that even if you looked at the wrong way would crease. But up until recently, before Final Fight was released on the PSN and Xbox Live, this was the best way to play Final Fight, the Sega CD version.
And in many ways it still is the best way short of the arcade.
That is correct. And another nice little find, in really bad condition, but I had to get it. I found it at a pawn shop because this game was really hard to get. This is actually, if anyone knows the history of Night Trap, it's a terrible, terrible game, and by today's standards is nothing at all. But back when this came out, this is very controversial, women running around their underwear getting trapped. And this is actually the cover that was, if I remember correctly, was actually had to be pulled off the shelves. And it was impossible to find, so I was lucky enough to actually find it at the pawn shop, hence its kind of awful condition, but it's the real only way to have it. And rebuying it on the 32X.
Glorious 32X.
Yeah, the full screen, and Dana Plato, who is no longer with us. She'll always be remembered as, not for Different Strokes for me though, for being a Night Trap. The PSP, the only handheld to put up a fight against anything Nintendo has ever done, so kudos to them for actually surviving against Nintendo. No one else has been able to do this. And when it comes to the PSP, I definitely collect more of the RPGs. And here's something at the time of this recording, still sealed, which is very embarrassing, is the Lunar Special Edition, which I haven't played yet. But another member of Chargeback Forward happens to have my PSP at this moment, so when he decides to bring it back, I will start playing this again. It's fine. There we go. And Persona, another, as we discussed earlier in the video, anything made by Atlus, you just gotta buy it no matter what, and just keep it sealed if you're never gonna play it. Just, Atlus is fantastic. And one more little box set to show off there as well. Again, still sealed. But I will, some of these I will eventually play. The Lunar, I promise everyone, I will play.
You're playing it next.
Yeah, I'm playing it next, definitely. And once again, I gotta move on to the most embarrassing part of the room, which is the statues, which I collect like crazy. So let's start here. This is my Samurai Showdown section. We've got some characters from Samurai Showdown. Scrolling down, we have the King of Fighters section. And scrolling down a little bit even more, we've got Persona, Disgaea, Ochi Navara back there. And way down at the bottom, if you can see, we've got Tron Bonne from Mega Man, and of course Mika from Street Fighter. The Xbox 360 corner, and in keeping with my rule when I purchase games is always buying special edition, so you'll see a lot of special editions cycled in here with the Resident Evil, Street Fighter, Alan Wake, which we were discussing earlier, which I'll just do a quick show off here if anyone hasn't seen how fantastic this edition is.
This is our first unboxing, guys.
Yeah.
Rejoice.
The box. All the items autographed by the fictional Alan Wake. That makes it look like it's very real. So again, always gotta buy the special edition.